The Michael Flynn Affair, Deconstructed. Plot Holes by Robert Gore. The Michael Flynn Affair is one of those movies where you figure out a jungle of things that don't make sense as you walk out of the theater. There has been a deluge of articles about Michael Flynn Affair from an array of political and ideological vantage points, and SLL has reposted some of them. What's lacking are coherent and cohesive explanations of what would be, if this were a novel or a movie, gaping plot holes. The upshot of many commentators is that Trump has underestimated the deep state, he's floundering, and so on. This article takes the opposite tack. Out of innate contrariness, and because President Trump has been so consistently underestimated by both friends and foes. Why was Michael Flynn cashiered? The administration's story is that he talked with a Russian diplomat and mentioned lifting sanctions, then lied about his conversations to Vice President Pence. What's become the conventional subtext is that the intelligence agencies have launched a quote-unquote soft coup against Donald Trump. He has been significantly weakened, and the deep state has scored a major victory. Plot hole. If Trump had wanted to keep Flynn, he could have kept him and rode out the media firestorm. Blogger The Real Fly has suggested there was either a prearranged plan for Flynn to make an early exit, or Trump did an about-face, determined Flynn was not a good fit, and decided to get rid of him. A subplot hole. Flynn, an intelligence veteran, undoubtedly knew his phone was tapped. Either he knowingly said what he said to set a trap, or when the Washington Post story surfaced, Trump saw his chance and got rid of Flynn. He has demonstrated a cold-blooded capacity to quickly cut his losses. Quote, "You're fired," end quote. It's telling that Flynn's replacement, H.R. McMaster, authored Derelict of Duty, Lyndon Johnson, Robert McNamara, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the lies that led to Vietnam. This looks like a classic Trump double down, replacing a maverick the deep state didn't like with a bigger one they'll like even less. Whatever the real story, Trump has gained valuable leverage on the intelligence agencies. Somebody leaked an intelligence agency transcript of Flynn's call to the Washington Post, and that is illegal. Just before he left office, President Obama relaxed limits on NSA's dissemination of its information to other intelligence agencies, the FBI, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. Obama probably thought he'd be turning those agencies into a collective sieve of untraceable leaks that would plague Trump, but this may backfire spectacularly. With the new rules, the illegal leak could conceivably come from an agency that has access to NSA data. The Trump Justice Department now has carte blanche to investigate all of them, unless the agency responsible coughs up the leaker to protect itself and other agencies. The gaping plot hole. The deep state's stratagems scream weakness, not the strength so many are attributing to it. The deep state likes to stay in the shadows, zealously protecting its power by shielding it from public view. Trump has forced it into the open, and it doesn't adjust well to the light. It has resorted to tissue-thin stories planted in the captive media that speak of assessments and options, opinions, but doesn't offer source material that's supposedly the basis of those subjective judgments. The Flynn disclosure was in the same vein. The original transcript on which the Post story was based has not been made public. This tees it up for Trump to lambast the mainstream media and intelligence agencies, which he has done repeatedly and to great effect. He was in rare form at his recent press conference. You only plant stories in media organs nobody trusts. Sources to anonymous operatives within the intelligence community nobody trusts, obviously breaking the law and setting yourself up for abuse from the president because that's all you've got. The whole Russian story reeks of desperation, quote-unquote. It is flimsy, and flimsier still is the rationale offered for the deep state's dodged loyalty to its concoction. Any rapprochement with Russia supposedly threatens the empire and must be quashed, even if that entails ham-handing efforts to depose the elected president. However, it's child play for Trump to beat a tactical retreat, talk out of the other side of his mouth, and take the wind out of his enemy's sails. Child play. To counter the Putin puppet fairy tale, he could have his ambassador to the UN condemn Russia's annexation of Crimea. He could continue Obama's military buildup on Russia's western border. Trump and team could tweet and talk tough about Russia and its allies China and Iran, and reject any joint military operation with Russia and Syria. Oh wait, all this has already happened. So why has the deep state resorted to repeatedly discrediting tactics to propagate its concocted story, ultimately helping the president in his battles with it and its captive press, supposedly in service of a foreign policy criticism of the president that he easily undercuts and by adjusting his rhetoric and moving towards their position? What's going on? The real story isn't Russia. Do you mount a soft coup over policy differences when, after all the Washington give and take, those policies will at worst marginally affect your influence, power, and payola? Doubtful. Keep in mind Trump wants to increase military budgets. If, on the other hand, you're facing complete disgrace and ruin, including a long stretch in a penal institution, there's nothing you won't do to save yourself. It's not what politicians and bureaucrats do sub rosa that poses the biggest danger to the country and the world, but what they do in broad daylight. However, there's no denying that Washington is the world's capital of sub rosa, the unethical, immoral, and illegal. To use a favorite Trump adjective, it's a crooked place. Trump knows or suspects where some of the bodies are buried, and the powers that be fear he'll go after them for everything from garden variety graft, bribery, theft, and influence peddling to crimes as sordid as child molestation and murder. He can't know exactly what he'll find, but he can turn on the light and watch the cockroaches scuttle. Fishing expeditions for leaks of classified material, a crack team of auditors rooting through accounts and contracts, especially those of the military, the intelligence agencies, and their legions of subcontractors, vigorous prosecution of child pornography and molestation, making deals with small fry in exchange for testimony against bigger fry. Jeffrey Epstein and his Caribbean island, disclosures from intelligence agencies' archive of deception and illegality stretching back to the Kennedy assassination and Vietnam. Disclosure of those 650,000 emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop, pay to play at the Clinton Foundation. The list is endless, and who knows what they'll find. This, not the fear that Trump will revise U.S. policy towards Russia, is behind the deep state's cold sweat, motivating its hysterical, comical, if it wasn't so serious, campaign to depose him. This is the first time it has faced an unfriendly in the White House with presidential powers to investigate, expose, prosecute, scandalize, and ruin. Green shook his head. Quote, "The Corleone family don't have that much muscle anymore. The Godfather is sick. You're getting chased out of New York by the other families, and you think you can find easier pickings here. I'll give you some advice, Mike. Don't try." End quote. This is from The Godfather by Mario Puzo. Trump may be weak like Michael Corleone was weak just before he wiped out his enemies, including Mo Green. Like Corleone, Trump may be trying to further an impression of feebleness, and for the same reasons, to make his enemies overconfident and to flush out traitors. Until the swamp is drained, there is no prospect of making America great again. Feared, not loved. SLL. The deep state is trying to kill Trump with 1,000 paper cuts. Trump has bazookas, howitzers, and tanks. Don't bet he won't use them. This is by Straight Line Logic on State of the Nation.